Vincent Ashford had forgotten what laughter sounded like, his son's laughter especially. So when he heard it that afternoon echoing down the marbled halls of his mansion, it stopped him cold. At first, he thought it was a memory, the kind that sneaks up on you when the house gets too quiet. But then he heard it again, bright, reckless, alive, and the Scotch glass slipped from his hand, shattering across imported tile. It couldn't be Daniel. Daniel didn't laugh anymore. Not since the accident. Not since the world burned down in twisted metal and hospital lights, in silence that no amount of money could fill. Heart pounding, Vincent followed the sound toward the east wing, a place he'd avoided for 2 years. Every step felt like trespassing through a graveyard of what used to be a family. His late wife's piano gathered dust in the corner. Daniel's dance trophies lined the walls like ghosts frozen mid-spin, and then he saw it, through a half-open door that hadn't been opened in months. Daniel, the boy he'd once carried on his shoulders, the boy he now couldn't even look at without choking on guilt. He was spinning in his wheelchair, his thin arms lifted as if reaching for invisible wings. And behind him, moving with him, guiding him, was her. Maya, the new maid, the one Vincent had barely interviewed, hired out of desperation to fill another empty post. She was dancing him. Not with him, dancing him. Her hands on the chair's handles, her hips swaying in rhythm, her voice, low, warm in Spanish, threading through an old vinyl melody playing from the dusty record player in the corner. Vincent's breath caught. The room glowed with something he hadn't seen in years. Life. Daniel's eyes were closed, his face wet with tears and laughter all at once. "I'm flying, Maya," he whispered, voice trembling with joy. "I'm actually flying." The words tore through Vincent like glass. His son hadn't spoken to him in 8 months. Not a word. Not even when Vincent bought the custom wheelchair. Not when he rebuilt the therapy room. Nothing. But he was speaking now to her. Vincent stood frozen, every part of him unraveling. Grief, relief, rage, shame. It all collided as he realized the truth. A stranger had given his son back what he thought was lost forever. The record spun to a close. Silence rushed in, and Daniel turned, saw his father standing in the doorway. Well, the joy drained from his face in an instant. Maya froze, the air thickened. Vincent took one step forward, his voice breaking the silence. "What are you doing to my son?" For a heartbeat, no one breathed. The vinyl popped softly in the corner like a ticking bomb. Then Daniel whispered, "Don't stop the music, Maya." But the needle lifted, and everything went quiet. Welcome back to the channel, my wonderful friends. Today I bring you another heartwarming story that will move you to tears. It's a story of a broken, paralyzed boy and his grief-stricken father, and how the bravery and love of a simple maid brought them healing, redemption, and joy. Stay till the end, my friends, and plus comment where you are watching from down below. Also remember to subscribe to this channel as we bring you emotional and inspiring stories every day. Let's begin 3 months earlier. Vincent Ashford had learned to live without sleep. He functioned in fragments, hours blurred by coffee and board meetings, nights haunted by headlights that never stopped coming. The city skyline stretched below his penthouse like a map of everything he'd conquered and nothing he could feel. On paper, he was thriving. CEO, billionaire, visionary. But in mirrors and windows, the reflection told the truth. Hollow eyes, a wedding ring he hadn't removed, and a man whose home had become a museum of what he'd lost. The email waiting on his laptop was another reminder of what he'd broken beyond repair. Subject, Daniel's progress. Urgent discussion required. He didn't open it. The intercom buzzed. "Mr. Ashford," his assistant's voice crackled through, cautious, as though disturbing a sleeping bear. "The agency called again. The last nurse resigned. They want to know if you'd like to—" "Hire another," he interrupted. "Someone competent. I don't care who." He ended the call and exhaled through his teeth. The scotch in his hand trembled. Across the city, in a one-bedroom apartment that smelled faintly of cinnamon and struggle, Maya Rodriguez sat with her daughter at a kitchen table that wobbled when you leaned on it. Dinner was rice and beans again. Sophia, 11, was picking at her plate, her eyes too old for her years. Mama, she said softly, the electricity bill came. It's red. Maya's smile faltered, then returned, bright, brave, pretending. Then we'll light candles like Abuela used to. Romantic, no? Sophia didn't laugh. We're behind, aren't we? Maya reached across and took her daughter's hand. Not for long. I have an interview tomorrow. Live-in housekeeper for a family in Preston Heights. It pays more than 3 months at the hotel combined. Live-in? Sophia's voice went small. You'd be gone. Just during the week. I'll come home every weekend. Maya brushed a strand of hair from her daughter's cheek. You'll stay with Mrs. Alvarez. She promised to keep an eye on you. Sophia tried to smile but failed. I don't want a babysitter. I want you. Maya pulled her close, inhaling the scent of her strawberry shampoo, memorizing it. I know, mi vida. But this job, it could change everything. For both of us. When Sophia was finally asleep, Maya sat on the edge of her bed, the silence pressing in. The bills on the counter looked like silent accusations. Her chest ached with exhaustion and hope in equal measure. She prayed, not for money, not for luck, but for purpose. Use me, Lord. Wherever you send me, let me make it matter. She had no idea that prayer would lead her into the mansion of a man who'd forgotten how to love, and a boy who no longer believed he deserved it. The agency's car felt like another world. Black leather seats, bottled water she didn't drink. The mansion gates opened with a hum, swallowing her into the kind of wealth that made her stomach tighten. Vincent's office smelled of expensive silence. He didn't rise when she entered, didn't even look at her for the first 30 seconds, just flipped through her resume as though scanning a grocery list. You've worked in hospice, he said flatly. Yes, sir, 3 years, and before that, private care. He nodded once. The agency mentioned a daughter. Maya blinked, unsure why that mattered. Yes, Sophia, she's 11. I'd be live-in during the week. But I don't care about your schedule, Vincent cut in, tone clipped. I care about reliability. The last 3 hires quit within a month. I need someone who won't. Why did they quit? She asked softly. He looked up, eyes like cold smoke. You'd have to ask them. I'm asking you, she said. For the first time, his composure flickered. He leaned back, studying her, as though no one had dared to ask him anything real in a very long time. My son is difficult, he said finally. Withdrawn. The staff finds him uncooperative. Or maybe, Maya said gently, he's hurting, and people find that uncomfortable. He stared at her for a long, unblinking moment. Something shifted in his expression. Not warmth, exactly, but recognition. You start Monday, he said. Mrs. Chen will show you the East Wing. Thank you, Mr. Ashford. She stood, clutching her purse, but paused when she heard him say almost under his breath, he used to love music. Maya turned. Music? Vincent's eyes drifted to the window. Before the accident, he danced all the time. The house was never quiet back then. His jaw tightened. Just be patient with him. Please. It was the please that broke her heart. I will, she promised softly. I'll see him, Mr. Ashford. Not just look at him. I'll see him. He didn't reply, but as she left, she swore she heard him exhale for the first time in years. Daniel Ashford didn't speak when Maya entered his room that first morning. He didn't even turn his chair. Mrs. Chen had warned her. He'd fired 2 caregivers himself. Don't try too hard, the housekeeper had said. He'll see through it. Maya didn't try. She stood quietly, letting her eyes take in the space. The blackout curtains, the untouched piano in the corner, the framed photo on the wall, Daniel mid-leap, arms outstretched, life frozen before the fall. Your mother was beautiful, Maya said softly. His shoulders stiffened. Don't what? Don't use her to connect with me. The last one tried that. It's manipulative. Maya didn't apologize. She walked to the window and pulled the curtains open. Morning light poured in like a rebellion. I'm not trying to connect, she said, just letting the sun in. Daniel turned at last. His face was pale, wary. You won't last a week. Maybe not, Maya said simply, but I make great pancakes and I don't give up easily. For a second, just a flicker, His mouth twitched like he almost smiled. And that was enough for her to know. Somewhere behind the armor, a heartbeat was waiting to be heard. The second week in the Ashford mansion passed like the slow turning of a lock. No shouting, no breakthroughs, just quiet resistance and the occasional flicker of something unspoken between a grieving boy and the woman too stubborn to leave him alone in the dark. Maya had learned to measure progress in inches. Daniel now tolerated her presence. He didn't talk much, but he no longer turned his chair away when she entered. He let her adjust his pillows. He even allowed her to sit by the window while he read. She talked sometimes, to fill the silence, not to demand answers. Stories about her daughter Sophia's science project gone wrong, the neighbor's rooster that crowed at midnight, her attempt to fix a leaking pipe with duct tape. At first, Daniel ignored her completely. But one morning, as she described Sophia's dramatic reaction to losing a spelling bee, he muttered under his breath, "She sounds dramatic." Maya almost dropped the plate she was holding. "You have no idea," she said softly. And that was how it began. Small words, like cracks in a frozen lake. Days turned into a rhythm. Maya arrived early, opened the curtains, coaxed him through breakfast. She read to him when he couldn't focus, hummed while cleaning his room, and pretended not to notice when he watched her reflection in the window. Vincent, meanwhile, remained a shadow in the West Wing. He worked late, ate alone, and let the woman he'd hired slowly resurrect what he'd buried. Maya didn't judge him, not yet. She saw the exhaustion in his face whenever their paths crossed, the way he hovered near the hallway leading to Daniel's room but never crossed it. He wasn't cruel, just afraid. And fear, Maya knew, was love with nowhere to go. On the 21st morning, something changed. Maya was dusting the bookshelf when she found a photo album hidden behind textbooks. When she pulled it out, Daniel's reaction was instant. Sharp inhale, shoulders tense. "You weren't supposed to find that," he said. "I wasn't looking for it." She hesitated. "Can I?" He stared at her, then nodded. "You can look." She opened it carefully. There was Daniel before the accident, smiling, dancing, alive. There was his mother, dark hair, radiant eyes, every photo filled with motion and laughter. And there, near the end, one photo that stopped Maya cold. A boy mid-leap in a dance studio, joy caught midair. "You danced," she whispered. Daniel's voice came out cracked. "I used to." He turned away, but she could hear the tremor in his breathing. "She loved watching you, didn't she?" He swallowed hard. "She said I was magic." Then quieter. "And now she's gone, and I can't dance, and Dad can't even look at me without remembering that." The words hit Maya like a prayer in a wound. She closed the album gently. "Your father doesn't look away because he hates you. He looks away because he hates himself." Daniel's eyes flashed. "Don't defend him." "I'm not." She moved closer, kneeling so they were eye level. "I'm just saying, when people are drowning, they don't always reach for help. Sometimes they sink quietly. Sometimes they call it strength." He stared at her for a long time. Then softly, "You talk too much." Maya smiled. "And yet you're still listening." That earned her the faintest, most fragile laugh, but it was real. The first one in 2 years. That night, long after Daniel had gone to bed, Maya walked through the East Wing alone. The silence in that mansion was alive, too thick, too practiced. Every portrait, every polished surface whispered stories of a family that used to breathe in these walls. She stopped by the old record player, dusty, untouched. Her fingers brushed the edge of a vinyl sleeve. Ella Fitzgerald, "Dream a Little Dream of Me." Something inside her stirred. She left it there, for now. The next afternoon, Daniel's therapy session ended badly. He'd refused to cooperate. The therapist left frustrated, muttering about non-compliance. When Maya entered, he was seething. "Everyone keeps pretending," he snapped. "Pretending this helps. Pretending I'm not broken." "You're not broken," Maya said quietly. "Then why can't I walk?" "Because life isn't fair. But unfair doesn't mean worthless." "Stop trying to fix me," he shot back. "You don't know what it's like." "You're right," Maya said, her voice trembling, but steady. "I don't, but I do know what it's like to lose everything and still have to wake up the next morning." I know what it's like to keep breathing when it hurts. Her eyes shone, raw and unguarded. Pain doesn't mean you're finished, Daniel. It just means you're still here. He turned away, but his jaw quivered. Maya crossed to the corner. Her hand hovered over the record player again. Do you trust me? Daniel frowned. No. Good, she said, smiling faintly. Means you're honest. Close your eyes anyway. Maya. But she'd already dropped the needle. The crackle filled the room, followed by Ella Fitzgerald's honeyed voice. The sound hit Daniel like lightning. He flinched. Turn it off. No. Maya, please. I can't, she said gently, because this music isn't about pain. It's about memory. And you deserve to remember something beautiful. She stepped behind him, hands on his chair, and began to move. Slowly, gently. The chair turned in rhythm with the music, her movements tender but sure. What are you? Dancing, Sean, she whispered. You don't need legs to dance. Just a heartbeat. For a moment he resisted. His hands clutched the armrests. But then, something broke. His body relaxed. His fingers lifted. His head tilted back. The air shimmered with something sacred. Maya swayed, humming softly, tears running down her cheeks. And then Daniel's voice, small and cracked, whispered, I miss her. I know. I miss the music. Then listen, she said. Let it find you again. He began to cry, quiet at first, then deep, shaking sobs that sounded like release. Outside the door, unseen, Vincent Ashford stood frozen. He'd come to check on his son for the first time in weeks and stumbled into something that shattered him. Through the doorway, he watched the impossible. His son, alive again in motion and sound, and the woman who'd given him that life, her face lifted toward the music, unguarded and full of grace. Vincent pressed a hand to the wall, trembling. It was too much, too beautiful, too painful. He turned away before they saw him, and for the first time in 2 years, he wept. The morning after the dance, the mansion felt different, brighter somehow, lighter. Maya woke early, humming as she made breakfast. She caught herself smiling at nothing. For the first time since she'd arrived, she believed Daniel might actually want to live again. But grief has a cruel habit of fighting back when hope returns. When Maya wheeled Daniel's breakfast tray in, he wasn't at the window as usual. He sat stiffly in the middle of the room, eyes red, jaw clenched. Morning sunshine, Maya said, trying to keep the tone easy. You shouldn't have done that. She stopped. Done what? Yesterday. His voice was low, shaking. The music, the dancing, all of it. Maya's chest tightened. Why not? Because it was stupid, he snapped. It didn't change anything. I still can't walk. I still can't. He gestured at his legs, his hands trembling. You made me feel something that isn't real. You made me remember what I lost. Maya set the tray down carefully. That joy was real, Daniel. Joy is useless. His voice cracked. What good is feeling happy for 5 minutes if it just makes everything hurt worse afterward? I was fine before you came. At least when I didn't feel anything, I didn't miss it. The words cut deep, but Maya didn't flinch. She walked closer, kneeling beside him. You weren't fine, sweetheart. You were surviving. And surviving is not the same as living. Stop talking like you know me, he shouted. You don't. You're just the maid. The silence that followed was heavy, sharp. Maya stood slowly, her heart aching, but her voice steady. I may be the maid, Daniel, but that doesn't mean I don't see you. You can hate me for trying. That's fine. But I will never let you believe your life ended just because your legs stopped working. He turned away, eyes glistening. Get out. Daniel, I said get out. His voice cracked in two, breaking somewhere between fury and grief. A book flew from his hand, hitting the floor near her feet. Not thrown at her, but thrown enough to hurt. Maya nodded once, tears threatening but unshed. Okay, I'll go, but I'll be back tomorrow. You can throw every book in this room and I'll still be here, because that's what people do when they care. She left, closing the door quietly behind her. In the hallway, she pressed her forehead against the cool wall and exhaled shakily. She'd seen this before, in hospice, in her daughter after heartbreak, in herself when life got too hard to face. The outburst wasn't hatred, it was fear, and fear always screamed loudest right before surrender. An hour later, Vincent found her in the kitchen chopping vegetables with too much force. "Mrs. Rodriguez?" She jumped slightly, wiping her face. "Mr. Ashford." "Sorry, I heard shouting, but," he said softly. "From Daniel's room." Maya sighed. It wasn't a good morning. Vincent hesitated, then stepped closer, lowering his voice. "I saw what happened yesterday." Her heart stopped. I didn't mean to intrude," he said quickly. "I was walking by. I heard music." His throat tightened. "I saw him laughing, crying, moving. I haven't seen him alive like that since the accident." He paused. "You made my son dance." The way he said it, half awe, half disbelief, made Maya's eyes fill. "He made himself dance, Mr. Ashford. I just turned the music on." Vincent shook his head, eyes distant. "I've spent 2 years trying to fix him. Doctors, specialists, equipment, tutors, millions of dollars. And you," he swallowed hard. "You walked in and gave him back something I thought was gone forever." Maya met his gaze gently. "I didn't fix him. He was never broken. He's just scared." Vincent's voice broke on the next word. "So am I." The honesty startled them both. He turned away, gripping the counter like it might steady him. "I keep thinking I can buy my way back to being a father. Like if I just give him enough, he'll stop looking at me like I killed his world." Maya stepped closer, her voice soft but firm. "You can't buy your way back, Mr. Ashford. You can only walk back. One small, awkward, uncomfortable step at a time." Vincent's jaw tightened. "He doesn't want me there." "He needs you there," she said, "even if he doesn't know it yet. He thinks you can't stand to look at him. That's poison in a child's heart, Mr. Ashford. You have to show him otherwise." Vincent's eyes lifted to hers, raw, frightened. "What if I make it worse? Then at least he'll know you tried." For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Vincent nodded as though sealing a business deal with himself. "You're right." He turned toward the hallway. "Wish me luck." Maya exhaled. "You won't need it. Just don't run when it hurts." Vincent stood outside his son's door for 5 full minutes before knocking. "I said leave me alone, Maya," came Daniel's muffled voice. Vincent opened the door anyway. Daniel froze. "Oh, Dad, I thought you were—" "I know." Vincent stepped in and shut the door behind him. The silence between them was thick and fragile. "Can we talk?" Daniel scoffed. "Since when do you talk to me?" "Since now," Vincent said. "If you'll let me." Daniel crossed his arms. "You'll just say something about therapy or grades or whatever. You don't actually care." "That's not true," Vincent said quietly. Daniel laughed bitterly. "Really? You haven't eaten dinner with me in months. You missed Mom's memorial. You missed my birthday. You only show up when the staff quits." Every word hit like a whip, but Vincent didn't defend himself. He deserved them. "You're right," he said finally. "I've failed you." Daniel blinked. "What?" "I've been a coward," Vincent said, voice trembling. "The night of the accident, I was driving. I thought I could save her. I thought I could save you, but I couldn't. And when I saw you in that hospital bed, I didn't see my son. I saw every way I'd failed. So I shut down. I thought if I just worked harder, built more, maybe I could make it mean something." Tears filled Daniel's eyes. "You should have just stayed. I didn't need a billionaire. I just needed my dad." Vincent knelt beside his wheelchair, this powerful man on his knees before his broken-hearted son. "I know," he whispered, "and I'm here now. I can't change what I did, but I can change what I do next, if you'll let me try again." For a moment, Daniel said nothing. Then slowly he reached out, tentative, trembling, and touched his father's face. "Then stay," he whispered. "Not just today, tomorrow too. Don't disappear again." Vincent swallowed hard. "I won't. I promise." He meant it. And outside the door, in the hallway, Maya stood silently, listening, tears sliding down her cheeks. For the first time, she believed maybe, just maybe, they all still had a chance. The mansion smelled of food for the first time in years. Maya had decided it needed to. She'd spent the afternoon in the kitchen with Mrs. Chen, sleeves rolled up, music humming softly from her phone, garlic butter, a hint of rosemary, real smells, the kind that cling to walls and make a place feel like home. At 6:30 sharp, the table was set for three. When Daniel wheeled in, he hesitated on the threshold. The dining room had always been a museum, long, cold, silent. His mother's favorite china sat behind glass. No one had touched it since the funeral. Now candles burned low across the runner, casting soft light over plates and laughter that hadn't started yet. "Is this for someone else?" he asked. "For us," Maya said simply. "Your father thought we should have dinner together." Daniel's gaze darted to Vincent, who stood awkwardly at the head of the table. No tie, sleeves rolled. It looked wrong on him, and right. "You really said that?" Daniel asked. Vincent nodded. "Seems it's about time." They sat, Maya in the middle, Daniel on one side, Vincent on the other. Three people unsure of what to do with the space between them. The clinking of silverware was the only sound. "So," Maya said brightly, "I may have overcooked the chicken, or reinvented it. We'll find out." Daniel tried the first bite, chewed, and looked surprised. "It's actually good." Maya gasped theatrically. "See that? A miracle before dessert." Vincent smiled before he could stop himself. The sound of his son teasing someone, anyone, was worth every awkward second. They ate slowly. Conversation came in hesitant steps. Schoolwork, Sophia's latest letter, a story about Mrs. Chen's battle with the new dishwasher. Nothing profound, just noise. Warm, human noise. Halfway through the meal, Maya rose and crossed to the sound system. She held up a record sleeve. "Permission to play something?" Vincent's chest tightened when he saw the cover, Billie Holiday, his late wife's favorite. He hesitated, then nodded. "Let's hear her." When the first notes filled the room, Daniel froze. His fork hovered midair, eyes glassy but steady. "I thought we weren't allowed to play Mom's records." Vincent swallowed. "We weren't ready. Maybe now we are." Maya sat again, Kia, letting the music breathe between them. The melody wound through the air, and slowly the stiffness dissolved. Vincent found himself talking, really talking, for the first time in years. He told Daniel about meeting his mother at a jazz festival in Boston, about how she danced barefoot in the rain while he stood under an umbrella too proud to join her. "She said I was afraid of joy," he admitted with a sad smile. "I think she was right." Daniel laughed softly through tears. "You? Afraid of anything?" "Constantly," Vincent said, "especially of losing her." And then I did. No one spoke for a moment. Only Billie Holiday sang, low and aching. Maya reached across the table, her hand covering Daniel's. "She'd love seeing you both here." Daniel blinked back tears. "Sometimes I dream about her. She's always dancing." Vincent nodded, voice breaking. "Then maybe she's still teaching us how." After dinner, Daniel insisted on clearing the table with Maya. Vincent tried to protest, habit, but Daniel gave him a look that silenced him. "We can handle plates, Dad." In the kitchen, Daniel rinsed dishes while Maya dried. "He's trying," Daniel said quietly. "He is," Maya agreed. "So are you." He looked at her sideways. "I was awful to you." She smiled. "You were grieving. That makes people act awful. But look at you now, doing dishes and handing out compliments." "I didn't compliment you." "Close enough," she teased, bumping his shoulder gently. For the first time, he didn't pull away. Vincent lingered in the doorway, unseen, watching them work side by side. Something in his chest shifted again, a tenderness he didn't know what to do with. He noticed how Maya's laughter filled every corner of the room, how Daniel mirrored her expressions without realizing it. And he thought, she belongs here. When she finally noticed him, she jumped a little. "You're supposed to be relaxing." "I was," he said softly. "Then I realized this is what relaxing looks like." Maya blushed, drying her hands on a towel. "We were just finishing up." "Stay a minute," he said, "please." Mrs. Chen disappeared discreetly, leaving them alone. Daniel had gone upstairs. The mansion was quiet again, but not empty. Vincent leaned against the counter. "You've changed this house." Maya shook her head. Daniel changed it. I just reminded him where the light switches were. He smiled faintly. You know, I used to think control was the same as strength, that if I managed every detail, nothing bad could happen. His gaze drifted toward the hallway. Then life reminded me I control nothing. Maya's eyes softened. Control is just fear wearing a suit. He laughed quietly, surprised. That sounds like something my wife would have said. She sounds smart. She was everything. He paused. You remind me of her sometimes. Maya looked away, suddenly self-conscious. I'm not her, Mr. Ashford. I know, he said. That's what scares me. The silence that followed was alive, charged. He caught himself before it went too far, before the weight of gratitude and loneliness turned into something else. Thank you, he said instead, for staying, for seeing him, for all of this. She nodded. You don't have to thank me for caring. Still, his voice lowered. Thank you. Their eyes met, briefly, powerfully. Then Maya stepped back, breaking the spell. Good night, Vincent. He didn't stop her. He only watched as she disappeared down the hall, the echo of her footsteps fading into music that hadn't yet stopped playing. When he finally turned off the record, the needle lifted with a soft click, and the silence that followed didn't feel empty anymore. That night, Vincent wrote no emails, answered no calls. Instead, he sat on his balcony, staring at the city lights and realizing he wasn't lonely, just late. Late to love his son, late to live, late to feel. But maybe, just maybe, not too late. Got it. You want Act 5 Pieces, the final act, written in the same cinematic, emotionally grounded tone and sized to complete the story at roughly 6,000 words total. Below is that closing act, 1,000 words. The days after the dinner felt lighter, like the house had finally exhaled. Music drifted from Daniel's room most mornings. Sometimes he hummed, sometimes he argued playfully with Maya about song choices. Even Vincent had begun working from home, setting up his laptop at the breakfast bar instead of his office. He said it was for convenience. Everyone knew it was for proximity, but peace, Maya had learned, is always borrowed. Life collects payment eventually. It came on a Thursday night. Maya was reading to Daniel when her phone buzzed. She almost ignored it until she saw the caller ID, Sophia. Go ahead, Daniel said, smiling. I can finish this chapter. She stepped into the hallway. Hola, mi amor. Everything okay? Sophia's voice wavered. The landlord came again. He said if we don't pay the full amount by tomorrow, we have to leave. Mama, I don't know where we'll go. The hallway tilted. Tomorrow. Yes, he taped a notice to the door. Maya closed her eyes, fighting panic. I'll fix it, I promise. Go to Mrs. Alvarez for the night. Don't open the door for anyone, okay? When she hung up, her hands were trembling. Vincent found her in the kitchen minutes later, standing very still. What happened? Nothing I can't handle. He studied her. It's Sophia, isn't it? Her silence was answer enough. How much? He asked. Don't. Maya, I said don't. The word cracked louder than she meant. Please, if you pay my bills, everything changes. You'll look at me and see a debt instead of a person. He stepped closer, voice low. That's not how I see you. She met his eyes. Then let me prove I can still stand on my own. And she walked out before he could say the things sitting in his throat. You already hold me up. That night, Vincent sat awake in his study, staring at the dark. Money was his language. Giving was how he fixed things. But she'd drawn a boundary, and respecting it felt like the hardest thing he'd ever done. Around midnight, Daniel rolled in quietly. You're brooding, the boy said. Vincent smiled faintly. You sound like Maya. I heard you talking earlier, Daniel admitted. Is she in trouble? Vincent hesitated. She's struggling, but she doesn't want help. Daniel's brows knit. Then help Sophia instead. Vincent looked up. What do you mean? Daniel wheeled closer. There's the trust fund Mom set up. You're the trustee. If we call it a scholarship for Sophia, it's not charity. It's legacy. Mom would have liked that. Vincent blinked back tears. You'd be okay with that? It's my money, Daniel said with a grin, and she's family. The next morning, Maya came down ready to pack her things. Pride and exhaustion made a heavy armor. Vincent and Daniel were waiting in the foyer. Before you decide anything, Vincent said, there's something you should hear. Daniel wheeled forward. We set up a scholarship for kids with single parents who need help staying in school. Sophia's the first recipient. Maya's mouth fell open. You what? It's under Mom's name, Daniel said softly. The Elena Ashford Foundation. You always say music and kindness should keep moving forward, so now they will. Her eyes filled. You didn't have to. I wanted to, Daniel said, because you taught me that helping isn't pity. It's love doing something. Vincent added quietly, no strings, no debts, just gratitude. Maya covered her face, tears spilling between her fingers. You two are impossible. Persistent, Daniel corrected. She laughed through the scene, shaking her head. Persistent, she echoed. That evening, the three of them gathered in the East Wing music room, the same one where it had all begun. Maya set a new record spinning. The sound filled the air, rich and warm. Vincent offered his hand awkwardly. May I? She looked at him, startled. I thought you didn't dance. I'm learning it, he said. Badly. She laughed, placing her hand in his. They moved slowly, gently, Daniel clapping along from his chair. Careful, Dad, he teased. You're off beat. Vincent grinned. Story of my life. They kept moving. White, being imperfect, human, whole. When the song ended, Maya rested her head against his chest. You did fine, she whispered. Only because you were leading. 3 months later, the mansion no longer felt like marble and echoes. It felt lived in. Sophia's drawings covered the fridge. Daniel's laughter drifted through open doors. Vincent worked shorter hours. Every Sunday morning they made pancakes, chocolate chip, Daniel's favorite, and argued about who flipped them better. One afternoon, Daniel rolled into the kitchen holding a folder. I wrote something, he said shyly. He opened it, a proposal for expanding the foundation. Music therapy programs, wheelchair dance workshops, scholarships. Vincent read it, eyes shining. You're building something real. Like you taught me, Daniel said. Except mine saves hearts, not companies. Maya leaned over his shoulder. Your mother would be proud. He smiled. I think she already knows. That night, they gathered in the music room again. Vincent on guitar, Maya singing softly, Daniel at the piano, Sophia on violin. They weren't good. The notes wobbled, laughter cutting between verses. But it was theirs. Halfway through the song, Vincent looked around. The son who'd learned to live again, the woman who'd taught him how, the girl who'd brought color back into his house. This, he said suddenly, setting down the guitar, is what home sounds like. Maya turned toward him, smiling through tears. Then don't stop playing. He took her hand. Not ever. The music rose again, messy, warm, alive. And for the first time in a very long time, no one in the Ashford mansion was afraid of tomorrow. Because somehow, through all the brokenness, they'd learned how to dance again. The end.